Do you ever find yourself sitting on the cold tiles of your bathroom at 4 a.m. and wondering what holds more value, pleasure or pain? No? Just me? Never? Yeah, okay, well, that didn't happen to me either. I promise. But I did wonder about that value thing, pleasure and pain. To clarify, the question is which has higher value, not which is more desirable. It will make sense in a bit. This whole thought process was kicked in motion when I was looking into hedonism for scientific purposes or some such. That's when I happened upon the formula that states happiness equals pleasure minus pain. So, if we have 100 pleasure and 100 pain, then we have 0 happiness, right? 100 minus 100 equals 0. Well, maths may be simple, but the twisting dark corridors of my unfettered mind dares to question that. Here is a thought experiment that I read about in an article about hedonism. Imagine that there's some random magical genie that looks like Danny DeVito who offers to play a game. You flip a coin, and if the coin lands on heads, you immediately feel a burst of intense pleasure. If it lands on tails, however, you immediately feel a burst of intense pain. Would you play that game? I could argue that looking at it objectively, half the time will be getting pain and half the time will be getting pleasure. So, since I described both of them as intense, we can assume it will be the same amount of pleasure and pain, meaning the result is a wash. Unless we roll like once or twice and get lucky, then we back off, but then we risk the opposite happening as well, so overall a wash. Why play? Me personally, however, I wouldn't play. Call me a coward if you will, but I wouldn't play. Plenty of people, I'm sure, would. So I think the actual answer to the question is really boring. It depends on the mental state of the person we're asking. However, I dug deeper into the nethers of my mind. Not in the bathroom at 4 a.m., that was a joke, okay? That didn't happen. Anyway, consider this negativity bias. That's a psychological phenomenon that reflects the tendency of people to give more attention and importance to negative information and experiences compared to positive ones. This is old stuff. Like back when saber-toothed tigers were still a thing, our very ancient ancestors had to learn quickly that, hey, going over to that part of the forest is what got ancient Bob eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. We should avoid it. Or ancient Mary ate those berries and then she died. It may have been something else that did ancient Mary in, but let's not eat those berries anyway. It happens to modern people all the time too. Like when we go to a party and we're awkward, like we always are, and nothing seems to be going well. We just sit in a corner and think about the bad job we're doing at socializing and how everyone probably thinks we're ruining the party with our gloomy attitude, so we leave embarrassed and we decide to never go to a party ever again. And that didn't happen to me either, okay? Just an example. Or when we go to our favorite restaurant for the 30th time and the food makes us retch and throw up, so we decide to never go to that place ever again, even though the previous 29 times everything was perfectly fine. So, in light of that, how do you think you would feel about your coin flipping after, say, 30 flips? It still depends on your mental state, but for most people, I think at some point negativity bias would kick in and we would decide that it's not worth it. Honestly, the sound of intense pain makes me think most of us would opt out pretty early. Going back to the equation, happiness equals pleasure minus pain. Here's the interesting thing. If we take into account negativity bias, that suggests that 100 pain actually has higher value than 100 pleasure. What's the conclusion? Working towards reducing pain is more valuable than working towards increasing pleasure if we aim to maximize happiness, assuming that you agree with the equation. Also assuming that the same amount of work would net the same amount of pain reduction as it would pleasure. It's all variable, but technically, given the opportunity, reducing pain should be more valuable. I would be interested in checking out study on the subject if someone actually did the experiment with all the proper scientific stuff that are not just the musings of one man. Anyway, here you can watch my musings on prudential hedonism, and here you can watch something else. It should be my newest video, if I kept making more videos. I don't know what the future holds. Anyway, subscribe, bye! Bye.